2019 Men's Skeleton World Championships are at the Whistler Sliding Centre as the BMW IBSF Worlds continues into its second weekend. Hello everybody, welcome to a beautiful day at Whistler. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan, getting ready for the second heat of our men's competition with 35 men waiting to get to the line of what is one of the most intimidating tracks on the planet.
First heat of 4. Nikita Trepikov not had a good season. We sort of talked about it on the way down, but he surprised us. He put himself in a bronze medal position. This is the silver medalist from last year's Olympic Games. He won a bronze medal in the World Championships 2 years ago, so the big events, he likes to perform. Second place, well, this is a surprise. Christopher Grother, he's finished no better than 4th this season. Started late in the heat, and with the 16th best start time, we couldn't believe it, Martin. He got to the bottom, 2nd place. Wow. Well, guess who's on top? Martins Ducars. Well, he's won 5 of the 6 last World Championships. He slipped up, got a 2nd in the one that he didn't do well in. And, you know, this guy who's dominated the sport in this decade, well, he put himself top of the leaderboard, 2nd best start time, 34 years old. Martin, he just keeps doing it.
He does keep doing it, but the start is not so critical here. The top 3, Martins Ducars, 2nd fastest, Christopher Grother, 13th fastest starter, Nikita Trepikov, 15th fastest starter. You can make speed on this track. It is a real driver's paradise. Sung Bin Yoon, the Olympic champion, on a 20-race string of podium finishes, including, you know, that Olympics thing. So he lies just outside the top 3. Thomas Ducars, Alexander Tretyakov, the start record holder, the 2013 world champion, he's in the mix as well. We could see an awful lot of changes here. Look at the tiny gaps between some of the sleds. 100s, couple of hundreds, dead heats, all the way down our 35 sled list. Ander Mirambel of Spain had to pull out this morning with a recurring back injury. So 35 sleds now go, 20 down to 1, the fastest 20 to the leader, and then the 21st to 35th place go in order. The air is warming up. It was -2 or 3 earlier on. The ice is -5. Shades are down to stop the sun warming the thing up. And there's Florian Auer. There's Felix Kaisinger, the junior world champion. That's why Germany have 4 sleds. No nations will have more than 3. The best nations get 3. Kaisinger, is the junior world champion, gets a free card to come into the race. So our start list begins with Kyle Brown. He was 20th after the first of potentially 4 heats. He will go off first with Yan Wengang of China, our new rookie. Second, Greg West, Dave Grace-Cheshin, and the rest on down to Martins Ducars, who will defend his lead and hope to go to bed with perhaps a little more than 700ths of a second in hand. He's used to pressure though, Ducars. Then, from 21 on down, Vladislav Marchenkov, Jerry Rice, rookie Mark Lynch, Brendan Doyle and so on will be trying to improve on their second heat, maybe push themselves into the top 20 overnight to give themselves a little bit of a more restful night. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside at the Whistler Sliding Centre for the 2019 BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Championships. Heat 2 of 4, first man off. 20th after the first run, Kyle Brown of the USA.
Kyle, Concord, New Hampshire guy, Springfield College. Didn't take all 6 of his runs, Martin, so I'm wondering if he's not a little wounded. I think yesterday or the day before he didn't take 2 of his practice runs.
Nice run through the first 4 corners is really crucial here. Quiet through 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 into 6, not bad. 4 into 5, rather not bad. Out of 6 into Luder's loop. Yeah, Luder's here, helping to train the Chinese bobsled teams.
This looks like better lines.
Yep. Now the ice will be freshly prepared for the second heat. A little spritz on it to zhuzh it up a bit. So Kyle Brown gets the best of the conditions.
Well, into the finish line. Let's look at his first heat time. 53:21, 52:85. Much better. Wow, much better time. 52:85 would have put him up into the top 10. So do we have a faster track, or was this just a better second run?
Well, it could well be a combination of the two.
Well, he was good here. The crossovers, he was hitting those take-ons early.
Yeah.
Here, these were much better lines.
The ice is very different from how it was in training. So the first heat, they might have got caught out a little bit by the conditions. Chance to adjust in the second. So it's all of that. Maybe slightly faster ice, maybe a bit more tidying up.
Could move up.
Yeah.
Am I on? Hey, everybody. 2 more runs. Let's go. Thanks for watching.
Now, 19th after the first heat was one of 14 World Championship debutants. Yan Wangeng from China. Started 21st fastest, drove himself into 19th place, tutored by Willi Schneider there.
Yeah, well, they had good speed on the bottom. 463, that's a much better start. 600's better. And now look at the bullet form. Well, he's coached by Willi Schneider at the top. Willie's got a lot of equipment instincts, but this other guy, Jeff Payne, the Canadian Olympic silver medalist, is his driver's coach. We were both impressed with their speed on the bottom part of the track in the first run.
Yeah, and in training, both the Chinese sliders made a pretty good fist of training here as well.
Ooh.
Drops into 9, bit of a knee steer just to get the line he wanted.
He dropped into that curve 9 in the wrong angle.
But only a couple of hundreds back.
300s to 300s. Now the first run, big speed on the bottom. He could catch Kyle Brown here.
The leader,
He's going to do it.
He's a fraction quicker, hits the wall at the line. 400s of a second in it.
So in the first run, these two sleds were separated by 500s. In the second run, Kyle Brown picked up 100. They're only separated by 4.
It's amazing how close they can be, isn't it?
Okay, that finish curve can take the wind right out of you.
No
Here's the
kidding.
crossover. Nice, didn't hit the take on. Good lines. Watch the crossover. Does he hit the take on first? A little bit. Now he's forced down in the middle of the curve, has to steer too hard. There's the result. He's up too high on this curve 13, flops off. The better sleds will not have that problem.
So I know his teammates are watching in Lillehammer with their coach. Next up, Greg West, the USA, bronze medalist in the team competition. Team USA took the bronze. Germany won again. Canada, the silver medalists. And Greg missing an injured hip.
Yeah, we saw that in the first heat. He had the 23rd best start.
Yeah, normally he should be in the teens. Fingertip start. Nobody else uses this. I wonder if this is going to catch on. Gives you a little bit more arm extension. You can sprint a little bit more upright.
Seems a little bit dangerous, though.
Yeah.
Especially with those start grooves. So he's 100th better than his start time in the first run.
Yeah.
And now he's going to need the clean lines. That's good out of 2. Great, quiet out of 3.
But tantalizingly in front of him, Dave Greshcheshin of Canada, only 400s quicker, and Gung of China, only 500s quicker. So one tiny improvement can turn all of that around.
Yeah, Greshcheshin had a terrible first run for his track where somebody was really flying in training. So
nice run into 9. He's 900s up now on Yan of China.
Now watch the taker out here. Good. Exit. Good.
Little toast here. The gap's growing.
Speed. Check out the speed.
He's only 500s ahead of the Chinese from the first heat. That's a better run from Greg West. Wasn't a big hit.
52.74. There's 3700s better. So both American sleds way better in the second run than their first run.
Interesting. So is that a little bit of adjustment?
Well, Greg West said he said, thank God there's 4 heats. So we got him coming out of the sled saying that. So fingertip start, well, you know, when you have the 23rd best start, you really have to have some great drives down the track. That flop there, I don't think that cost him, Martin. Watch his feet. Yeah, not too bad. He's not dropping into the belly of the curve. He's getting on the take-on where he wants to get on the take-on.
Yeah, he and Carl Brown both look.
Dad, everybody watching at home, it's a heck of a ride.
Isn't it, though? Now then, let's see what Dave Greshcheshin of Canada can produce. Grizz, one of our real friends of the sport. His wife and new baby daughter are here. His mum and dad are here with babysitting duties as well.
Grizz had a bad first run, but this isn't tennis. There's no letch. You can't throw anything out. 67, a little bit better, 200's better. Now, this problem wasn't here.
The problem wasn't the start, was it? It was just about everything else.
He hits the take-ons right here. Watch this exit of 4-5. Right there. Oh, that's
That's
much
a
better.
little better,
Much
yeah.
better.
To steer hard to avoid the hit, though.
He was off the sled there in the first run. He doesn't tap there going into Luna's Loop either.
Only 400s ahead of Greg West. 500s.
Pretty good line.
That's their first heat gap.
Now, this is where he should motor because he's huge and he knows the track. Only down to 2, though. So
Real wild.
not doing it like we thought he would.
On his Schneider sled, he might have to be looking at the setup for tomorrow. He's going to be narrowly ahead of Greg West at the line. How narrowly? 1/100 of a second. The gap's come down from 500s to 1. Grizz is not going in the right direction.
Well, he's still 3/400ths better than he was in the first run.
Yeah.
So that means the track, everybody's 3/4 tenths better. The track's better in the second run here, faster, which, you know, in consideration of the track record of 52.15 to 51.99, if this pace keeps up, we could see a track record,
Yeah,
Martin.
we could.
Well, the exit of 13-14 for one of the biggest men in the competition.
That's not a happy Grizz, I'm afraid. Well, next up, Gung Wing-Chung of China in 16th place after the first heat. And he was 500s ahead of Dave Greshcheshin. Grizz was 200 ahead of Greg West. He's now 100th ahead of Greg West. So for Gung, essentially, the 2 sliders who've just gone are tied. He will either beat both or neither.
He can drop a couple spots very easy.
There's his coach, Jeff Payne, just in the shot.
11th best place, his best of the year was in Winterberg, and so that was a surprising result for the athlete who's been sliding. This is his 4th season, I think. Jeff Payne really high on him. At his first ever event, one of the European Cup events, the second tour in Europe, he finished 13th in St. Moritz. Jeff Payne texted me and said, I think I really have a guy who could be good at the sport.
Now, this is not the run that Gung wanted because he's gone from 100th ahead to 900s back. Now he brings it back. He was fast at the bottom.
Yeah, he was, you know, this is the Willie Schneider influence, the coach at the top. Oh, the former world champion in the 90s for Germany.
800s up. He's going to hold his lead over Greshcheshin and Greg West. Will he move up in 1100s?
He's flying. Best speed. Even that hit, he's still got the best speed at the bottom. 52.61. 4300s better. There's the Olympic silver medalist, Jeff Payne, from the Torino Olympic Games, multiple World Cup winner.
Now, for the first time, we got men and women's skeleton sliders from China and a full complement of 2-man, 4-man and women's bob, plus lots of officials here learning the sport, ready to run the next games in Beijing.
Take on, hit into 11, didn't cost him too bad here in 13. How much of the ice he's late coming off here a little bit. You know, those marks you see are from bobsled crashes.
Not bad though, didn't skid, so Gung moves
Speed.
ahead.
He has the best speed at the bottom so far of 90.2 miles an hour.
So, just ahead of Gung of China, we have the rest of our top 15 from the first heat, but it is the more experienced, the 2 Chinese sliders, who leads. 15th after the first of our 4 heats, the 2019 BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Championships in Whistler in Canada. Vladislav Heriskevich of the Ukraine, Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action trackside in beautiful BC.
Not a very good run for Vlad in the first heat. We saw some really quick times in training for this huge guy who doesn't get good starts. 474 there, which he had a 75 in the first run. But Martin, he was pretty sloppy coming down, and when you have a deficient start time, you can't be sloppy on the way down.
Nice and quiet in the first few
really
corners.
Good there.
4 to 5, keeping the speed alive.
He's a lot like Cheshire in Canada, big man. They don't get good starts, but when the sleds go to the high speed.
Ooh, gap's coming down. He was a 10th up on Gung. He's going to be in the red at the next split. He needs to have good lines down at the bottom.
Down to 100th. I don't see this happen. Just this move's late there.
Second fastest to Greg West, so quicker than the Chinese sled at the moment.
Gonna be close.
In the red, Gung with the best speed at the bottom, avoids the wall again, but is he steering too much? He is.
Time. So he moves still 10 hundredths up on Canadian.
Yeah.
452, 80, only 13 hundredths better.
Yeah. Well,
We've seen a lot. Everybody going 40 hundredths better, 50 hundredths better. Not the results that this young Ukrainian wants. Take on 11, 12 here. Pretty good. Watch him cross over. Does he hit the take on there? Yeah, a little bit. That hurt him.
24th in his first World Championships in Koenigsegg
Too high
2
on
years
the
ago.
outlet. To see that hitting the take on, what that did, threw him up on one runner. So that take on to 13, that sets yourself up there at 11.
It's all getting away from him a little down at the bottom, yeah. Little sketchy. Florian of Austria next up, 14th after the first heat, 600s ahead of Heraskevich, 200s behind Kim Ji-soo, and 300s behind Marcus Wyatt, who will follow him down the ice.
He had great speed on the bottom part of the track, Mark. 27th best start in the first run. 3rd best speed on the bottom. So this young Austrian, who's 10th in World Cup points, 476 in the first run. 475. He's got 1,400 lead. That's probably going to go back to equal here. Maybe even red numbers. But on the bottom part of this track, this young Austrian, whose father was a former world champion, surprised us.
Little tap dance out of corner 1, neat and tidy so far. Into corner 6. And nicely into 7. So still in the green. Gaps growing over Gung of China. Now it's dropped away though. And now this is where Gung could move up because he was lightning fast at the bottom.
Crossover there is good. How about here? Not bad. Down to 4. He's coming. This is what he did in the first run. He could get this to green.
Here we go, 800s back, 143.7 with just a tiny rub at the line.
7th best time, does fall 2 places. Falls behind the Ukrainian by 8. That's not the same run. And he's, if you look, 52.95. Yeah, he was slower. He's the first guy that was slower in the second run.
Yeah, that wasn't quite what he needed. He was very clean in the first heat. Here's a little tap dance and a touch on the wall out of 1.
That's a lot to do with it right there.
Yep.
With a bad start and then that, and then here a little take on too early there.
And he has to work hard to get off.
Then watch this. Yeah, look how high he is on the exit.
Late on the corner.
He was doing pretty good, and then he made that mistake in 12 and then hit the take on. Bad exit at 13.
Gong Wenchang of China, our race leader, with the fastest 13 from the first heat to go. Next up is Kim Ji-soo of Korea. Kim making his World Cup debut. 24-year-old was 6th in the Pyeongchang Games. Started just 6 World Cup races in his career so far. See how flexible the sleds are.
Start time. 56, that's the best start of the run.
Yeah, he was 7th fastest in the 35 sled field in the first heat. So you can see why they were recruiting him, can't you?
Wow. But you know, what a quiet 6th place finish he had at the Olympic Games, Martin. All we heard about was his teammate, who is now an Olympic legend in Asia for winning that historic gold medal for Korea. We'll see him coming up in about 10 sleds.
3,800s up on Gung of China. He was 1,700s up from the first heat, but the gap is coming down. It was 48. It might not even be 17 at the line. Flopping late off the curves, Kim Ji-soo. Little rub as he gets out. 15 into Thunderbird, steers to the line. No, behind.
Wow. 52.83. 400's better. No, yeah, it's 400's better than his first run.
Yeah, but he drops behind. He was 1,700s up on Gung and comes across the line, 500s behind him. You saw Lee Han-sin, his coach, a little disappointed with that. Katsuhiro Koshi, who's helping with their driving.
Well, crossover, that wasn't smooth. Into the take-on and Luder's loop, and then here, does he hit the take-on to 12? Yep, that throws him down into the middle. More steering, watch it. See, that's the take-on. You don't want to hit there. And then that forces you on the outlet to be way up high, late, and you come off like airborne runners. That's not the fast lines. This didn't help either. That was into the Thunderbird.
So a little disappointed with his second run. Marcus Wyatt at Great Britain, the best represented of the British athletes, 12th after heat 1 off the 5th fastest start.
54.
450.
Wow. So,
track record 448 at the start.
Could see that here in the second run by one of the top athletes.
Just a little drift off the line, half a second up.
That's a big disparity in time, Martin. He might lose some of that back, but hey, this guy's had a pretty good breakout season.
He was 1800s up on Gung of China from the first heat.
Last event in Calgary, he was 5th, his best career best.
Gaps come down from 54 to 4300s.
Only major mistake down here.
3300s, he's losing a 10th at every split. He'll not have much left at the line at this rate. Gung was very quick.
17, he could lose all that here too. Yeah. Boy, he looks slow coming around that finish.
And he's behind at the line.
Wow! 52.89, 300 slower than his first run.
Disappointment for Eric Bonotis. He drops 2 behind Gung of China and Kim of Korea.
He was 54 hundredths up at the second clock. Half second
he lost
on the
65 hundredths.
That's an eternity of time in a sport measured by hundredths of a second. Well, this is one of the issues. Watch his head here as he exits this curve here. A little late. Watch his head.
Using the head to steer away from the wall. Well, started the sport in 2014. This is his first World Championships.
A little high there with his head up. But he's new.
Close.
It is close. Now, we've just seen Kim Ji-soo move up a spot. Here is his young teammate, Jung Seung-hui. Jung has not started a World Cup race. He's also making his World Championship debut here.
We've never seen him.
We have not seen him until he came in for a headshot.
And he's, you know, not bad starter. 58, should be 55, 56 here. 57. Ooh, but he just erased that start with the negotiating into the first curve.
And he won't even be 20 for another 10 days.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Good starter. Now, 4600s, we just saw Marcus Wyatt throw that time away. And, of course, this young Korean had issues in the curve 1. So, curve 1, not the place you want to have any mishaps.
A little bit of toe steering there as well into 9. His biggest major competition so far, Youth Olympic Games in 2016 in Innsbruck. 2500s up, the gaps come down from 46. He's falling less quickly away than Marcus Wyatt, but he's not going to be the leader at the line, is he? It's going to be close. Oh, it's not too close. He held the speed at the bottom, 52.69.
10 hundredths better than his first run. 100th better at the start. And Martin, he did not have a very good exit of the start grooves into curve 1, which was definitely worth 2 tenths. You know, in our estimation sitting here.
John, he was tied for 10th place at the end of the first heat.
Does he run too far? Watch, he really runs a long ways. Settled, now watch him drift. Oh, I got to get away from there.
Right.
Look at that, and then he has to steer over into the first curve, and then comes out and hits the wall here, Martin.
Remember, we saw a couple of sliders starting in that right-hand groove, being led off to the right-hand side towards the end of the first heat. There is
young 19-year-old.
Yeah, I know. Jung. He is the leader from Gung and Kim, the Asian nations. 1, 2, 3, with the fastest 10 still to go. Well, tied for 10th with Jung was Junk, Axel Junk from Dresden in Germany. 3rd fastest starter. And Axel, silver medalist in the last World Championships.
Top-ranked German in the field, 5th in World Cup points, but he's the 3rd-ranked German in the first heat of the World Championships.
He's the 4th-ranked German.
4th, yeah, so then
4th of 4.
And trust me, there's a race within a race. There's a lot of a line here for these German athletes to go back as the top-ranked German in the offseason.
Well, he pulls out even more at the start. 4:52, just 4 hundredths off the all-time start record. 19 hundredths now on Jung. And don't forget, they were tied at the end of the first heat, but a big steer there.
He's got 2 podiums this year, a 2nd and a 3rd.
Struggled from 6 to 7. This is not clean.
Speed's not there either.
No, he's going to drop
behind the Korean. So this very disappointing day so far. The World Championships for the veteran Axel Jung.
At the line, he is second, but only 300s in front of Gung of China. And Gung was 16th after the first heat. Axel was 10th.
Another sled that was slower than his first run. Most sleds are faster in the second run. The earlier sleds were 4 or 5 tenths, but the track is now scratched up. You won't see the speeds and the disparity like we saw now. Crossover here in 4 to 5. Pretty good. Down into 7. Look at the sideways skid there. There's his big mistake.
Yeah.
Sideways skidding going out of 7 into 9.
And John, in this company, one error is really going to undo you in a hurry.
He's so angry with himself, yeah. He left right into the changing room.
Junior World Champion Felix Kaisinger, also the Intercontinental Cup champion for this season, the second tier of sliding below World Cup. Just 21 years old and looks all of 15 in his headshots. Kaisinger.
Watch him run here.
Yeah.
Look at him run. Look at his leg. Look at his leg drive and turn over.
It's like road runner,
55.
Isn't it?
Exactly like a road runner. 50. 500's better than his first run. Wow.
On his first World Championships at the senior level.
2,400's up. That means nothing. We've seen 5,400s disappear on West from Great Britain. So Kaisinger, a good run here. He could move up because it's really bunched, Mark.
Yeah, he was only 400s ahead of Jung and Jung. They weren't tied because the similarity of the surnames either. So Kaisinger down to 1,300.
Speed, he lost a little speed on the bottom of the track in the first run also.
Now all the athletes
down to 5, it's going to be
their own
close.
sleds, and they guess what the weather's going to do. He's behind, Jung moves up.
Wow, what a finish. What's this kid, 19?
19 years old.
World Championships, first time we've ever seen him.
Yeah, Kaisinger drops a spot. Still ahead of Axel Jung, so he's the third of 4 Germans still. Well, potentially. If the other two have a nightmare, he might be the top one, but enjoying his first ever World Championships at the senior level.
Crossover to 4 to 5. Not bad. Here, does he hit the tap on the wall? No, nice. Line there, little adjustment.
Little knee steer into 6.
And then here, it was just perfect. But Martin, he had another guy with 25, 30 in the bank up top.
No, panting like racehorses down at the bottom. 8th place was a fantastic first heat for rookie Austin Florian of the USA. Just 24 years old, World Cup rookie this season, his first World Championships. What a great start to it, John Morgan.
Southington, Connecticut. 4:57 in the first run. Everybody else going faster. This is a good starter. He could be in the low 50s.
Now that great run could do one or two things.
Again.
It can really relax him. Fantastic. Got a good run in. Let's just have fun.
Or he thought about it too much.
He can overthink it and tighten up. Now, which way has it gone?
Well, he's an electrical engineer from Clarkson University, one of the best engineering schools in the country. And you know, let's think of those. There's a couple other electrical engineers in the field that we think that they're too smart to be in the sport.
Well, met him first in Winterberg. That was his first World Cup race. He was disappointed with 19th. I said, hey, it's your first World Cup race. You made the cut. He said, yeah, I know, but it should have been so much better. And that's the attitude that you've got to have.
He lost a lot on that take-on.
Yeah, but he's only lost 300ths of a second from his 3100th lead. Now he's down to a 10th.
It's going to be red numbers.
Oh, what a big hit on the wall. He will be behind in the line by 300.
Best time of the run. That's okay. Still top 10.
Yeah.
Still ahead of 2 German sleds.
Second with 7 to go. That's still a great place to go to bed overnight. And he knows where the error crept in. So
Martin,
he's disappointed.
It's 1900s back from his first run time.
Yeah.
So the track, to me, is really losing on the bottom.
Well, if you make mistakes, it's definitely costing you, isn't
See
it?
that hits the take on there, throws him in the middle. Then he's got to steer too much. Watch it. See him crossover, too much of a crossover, and then he's laid onto this curve. This is where the speed went away here, Martin.
Flops off.
Yep. Toes down.
Big steer to get it off. However,
the last hit. bang.
Yeah, that hurts as well.
Don't think there's no black and blue.
Austin Florian in second place with 7 to go. Alexander Gassner of Germany, 7th fastest off the 15th fastest start. Gassner, team bronze medalist in the last World Championships 2 years ago.
Only had 2 World Cup starts.
Yeah.
First 2 events of the year, finished 7th and 6th, and then he disappeared until this event. 64, almost the exact same time. He had 62 in the first run. Yeah. He had good speed in the bottom part of the track, Mark.
Well, he's like we'll see from Sophia Griebel, Tina Hermann, Jacqueline Lurling in the women's race. Not a great starter, but he knows how to find speed on the ice.
Look at the form.
That's nice. Look at that. 6 to 7. You won't see a better line.
He's pulling away now.
4,200's up.
Really
nice
pulling
from
away.
7 into 9 as well.
Most everybody else has lost time down here on the bottom part of the track. He was 4,200s up at the last clock. Now he's 43. This is a great run.
Here we go. Finally, somebody pushes rookie Jung Sung Gui out of the leader's box. 3,200.
He'll come back down to the teens, probably.
Not a bad touch on the wall.
28. No,
2,800.
52.70. Now, Martin, the track's really gone away because now he's 2,200 slower. That was a good run.
Well, the other thing is maybe they're just more consistent, the guys we saw earlier on who had a poor first run and improved.
Look at him hold his shoulder.
Yeah, the consistency of the injury on the wall is definitely there.
Taking its toll.
You take a big hit on that wall.
Well, we talked about his form. That's pretty good there.
Yeah.
Boy, not too many people way over on that right side, but that's the way to get on that curve on your terms. Crosses over here, he hit the take on too early there. Now he's had to steer. He get in late here a little bit. Look at the form, his feet.
Tiny little
That's pretty
toast
good.
here.
That's pretty good. Track, no more speed left in the bottom part of the track.
Well, that might close up our leaderboard. In 6th place after the first heat is the 2014 Olympic champion, the start record holder here in 2010. He was in the bronze medal position behind
Tied the
Martin
start
Stucos.
record in the first heat, right?
Yeah, and John Montgomery, he did. 4:48 is the
Could be
mark.
one here. The start is quick.
It is quicker. This
Could be
should
a 47.
be a start record. No, 4:50.
Now, he's the world champion from 2017.
13. World Cup champion this year, though. He was the winner in St. Moritz.
Didn't he win 2 years ago?
No, winner in St. Moritz. Martin Stucos won the everyone since then, yeah. And that was quite a shock in St. Moritz. You know, you expected Ducours to be quite a long way in front of the field. Tretiakov pegged him back on every run. But look at this, 2,800s over Alexander Gassner.
We've seen those 2,800s go away.
Yeah.
So he's got to continue to bring that forward. He did, 3,600s now.
He was 100th ahead of Gassner in the first
Martin, we didn't like his first run, curves 1 to 2.
I'm
cleaned
guessing
it up.
he might not have done either. Look at this. Top speed at the bottom, 90.3 miles an hour. Doesn't touch the wall. Alexander Tretiakov, that is a great run.
3,500ths better than his first run. So the track,
Yeah.
well, that tells you how bad of a first run he had.
And didn't he need to? Because he was 3,200ths off the lead. That's what he needed. Now he's got to keep clawing them in, clawing them in.
It's 4 heats.
Yes.
It's like 4 days of a golf tournament.
Yeah.
Here in bobsled or in bob and skeleton and luge at the Olympic Games, it's 4 heats.
Well, that was his second round. He shot a 62.
Yeah, he definitely was way under par in this round. I would say he was even par in the first round. Here, the lines on the bottom, where everybody else is losing speed back, those are perfect speed lines. Yeah. And he's got the fastest speed in the bottom, 90.3. He's in the leader's box.
Form of his life. 34-year-old Alexander Tretiakov, our race leader. Fastest 5 still to come. And the rest of the field here in Whistler. 37 years old. Thomas Ducours is often the oldest man in a World Cup race. He is definitely not the oldest man in this World Championships, but he lies in 5th position after the first of 4 heats.
4th here in the Olympic Games in 2010. 4:58, that's a couple hundreds better start. And the 6'3" frame, you want to watch the type of form you should have coming down a track, check him out. Only 100th of the lead, second lead, but that was related to Ducours's or Tretiakov's better start time. still in the lead.
Thomas, 2100ths off the lead from the first heat.
Wow,
800 away.
Perfect line there on the entrance to 9. Watch him here in the shiver part of the track. Does he tap there? No. Got a 7.
This is all about the quality at the top of the field, isn't it? These guys are absolutely outstanding. Big skid there.
700s, he's holding it.
It's going to cost him at the line, and a big skid off the final corner.
500, 52-18. 1800's better.
Okay, 600 slower than Alex, and so the gap between them comes down to just 500s. But there are still our fastest 4 sliders to
If
come.
his brother comes down 1800s better, it's a track record. So Thomas, always hanging around the podium.
Yeah.
Look at this line. This is the best line we've seen from anybody in that part of the track. Watch this.
Oh, but big skid, look at that.
Boy, he stayed away. Everybody else is hitting the wall.
Yeah,
he was on the exit hanging it.
He was holding it right up
That
there.
was a veteran trick right there.
Yeah. There's Alexander Gassner. There's Gassner in 3rd place at the moment. But our fastest 4 sleds still to come, including our Olympic champion, Sun Bin Young, on a run of 20 consecutive medal finishes. 4 bronze, 8 silver, and 8 gold in his last 20 races, including the Olympic Championships. Now, can he continue?
53 in the first heat should be better the way he operates. 57, surprised, Martin, very surprised at that.
Again, the knee surgery he had on both knees during the summer. One recovered much quicker than the other, and he's still not starting like he used to. But next year, he absolutely will be.
He won the last event in Calgary, which was a pretty good warm-up for the World Championships. One of his 2 victories on tour this season.
Don't forget, last year he competed in 7 races, won 6 of them.
This is him dropping back a couple more spots, unless he finds the type of lines that he had on his home track.
And his teammate Yun Sun Hui is currently in 4th place. He was flying at the bottom, but this is not working so well for Yun.
Not at all. This is going to drop back a number of spots.
Wow. Now this is going to make a medal really tough.
52.49. Look at the coaches.
Richard Bromley cannot believe it.
Well, the start, he was 400 slower. Everybody else getting faster at the start.
Since Richard started building sleds for Yun, they've done 41 races and taken 32 medals. Well, that is an astonishing
Out of curve
rate.
1. How's this look? There's
Skid.
some skidding there.
Big skid.
Besides the bad start, then he makes a mistake on the exit of 1. Unlike the Olympic champion, this is good.
And again, hanging it up there.
Look at his head come up
really
there.
hanging it up. Wow.
Yeah.
That's off 15 into 16, out of the final corner.
Pretty smooth.
But again,
didn't hit her.
steering up to the line. That's so on Yun.
2 more heats left, but that wasn't a good one.
3 to go. Thomas Ducors leads Alexander Tretyakov. Here is Nikita Tregibov. Started only 15th fastest in the first heat.
And he had to listen to us all the way down to say what a bad season he's had.
Boy, he needs another good trip because he could be in the medals here tomorrow evening.
57 was a 500's better start, and this junior Russian rocket might have refound his form, Martin. He was a silver medalist at the Olympics last year. And 2017 won the bronze medal in the World Championships, and we thought he was sort of sleeping the last couple times out.
Well, he has struggled a little bit to find the speed on every track, and that's unlike him, and you wonder how much has been changing around the equipment on his Schneider sled.
8th in the event in Calgary last week, but now he's doing
building. He is challenging for the
huge
overnight
speed
lead.
in the first run here.
Tregibov hasn't got it quite in the final corner. He will lead
gonna be
at the
close.
line.
1100s,
right.
52.17, 900's better.
Only one man faster on the second run, and that is his teammate Alexander Tretyakov, who did a 52.12.
Yeah, he's 1600s back, so it's game on. Yun being 4/10 back, very surprising.
Well,
very
unless
surprising.
there's a miracle tomorrow on ice, Yun is out of the medals. Tregibov is in the hunt.
Crossover. absolutely. No, I take that back. He hit the take on too early down here. Oh, he was maintaining the speed, but he's late there, Martin, but did not make any adjustments. He let it fly. Let it fly.
Down the Gold Rush Trail, it just drifted away from him a fraction. 2 fastest sleds still to come. And the biggest surprise of day one, surely, this young man, Christopher Grohe smiling. Fantastic, that doesn't happen very often. 13th fastest start, second at the bottom.
Speed was incredible.
Now, again, like with Austin Florin of the USA, a great first heat. Does it bring pressure or does it relieve it?
Might have been his best heat of his career.
Yeah. 1 World Cup win under his belt.
64, 300 slower. Got to be perfect here, and he is.
Nice out of 1.
Speeds.
Nice out of 2.
Start.
This is where you make your money, John.
+3 to +13. He's got to start, stop the bleeding, keep it about 14 or 15 here, and then do what he did in the first heat, which is speed on the bottom.
Yep. Losing a little to Tregibov at the start.
Way back this time. Martin, I thought he came down, him and Florian came down at the time where I thought the track all of a sudden had a vortex in it for speed. That might have been it.
3500's back. He, like Yun, is going to sink like a stone. This is not the run that Christopher Grohe needed. He won't be smiling at the line.
Wow, 52.51.
Drops to 4th with
2,900 slow.
Top 5 overnight for Christopher Grohe. That's a disappointment, though. Came out late in the run, 18th out of 36. Won a team gold last weekend.
But he's the top German sled.
He was 5th last Worlds in Winterberg. He's going to go to bed no worse than 5th overnight. But he wanted more.
Okay, into the legendary 50-50 curve with some, look at his feet, look at his form. You can't fault anything there, Martin.
Yeah, I wonder if the track just went away a little from what he
I think he got a fast track
yeah.
at a certain time where the track might have gone up a couple degrees in about 2 or 3 sleds.
Nikita Tregibov leads, Thomas Ducours second, Martin Ducours wearing the World Champions red vest for the 3rd consecutive Worlds.
I think he can smell it.
Yeah. Now, he only had 700s over Grohe, 1100s over Tregibov from the first heat. Can he maintain his lead?
50! 52 in the first run.
Not bad for an old guy.
And this is where he made his money in the first run, up here on top of the track.
Well, you know when you play a video game and they have the ghost competitor who's got the perfect line? That's what he is. He's the ghost.
Don't jinx him, Martin, but so far I don't want to jinx him. He's perfect.
He is the ghost slider. 6 out of 7. Beautiful. Right down the tube into 9. Doesn't fringe the wall.
I think he can smell the other competitors not having as good a run as they needed to in the second run.
But he needs to keep the lead building.
This is a lot. This is big speed.
3,300's up. 81.3. Tregibov was quicker.
Here he comes.
Coming down.
It's okay.
He'll lead overnight from Nikita Tregibov.
Track record. He did it. We forgot about that.
Too excited for words. 51.91. Only 2 men in history have gone underneath 52 seconds. Sun Bin Young and now Martin Ducours.
Another day at the office for the guy who's won 5 of the last 6 World Championships. The one he didn't win, he got second. 34 years old. Who has the best start in the competition? Martin Ducours.
Well, he does in this run, but he's broken the track record. And he will go to bed as our overnight leader.
Bullet form. Did you see any variance any time down the track? Look at him. Hey,
Listen,
another day at work.
He is the smiling assassin. He is the nicest man you'll ever meet. But boy, he knows how to kill you on the ice. Nikita Tregibov came in here 1100s back, goes to bed 3700s back. And Thomas Ducours in the medals ahead of Alexander Tretiakov, Christopher Grohe, and Sun Bin Young and Alex Gassner. Young Sung-Gui, what a great day one for the rookie, 8th place. Now then, we get into our sliders outside the top 20. First of whom is Vladislav Marchenkov, 400s out of the top 20 after heat 1 of 4.
And they want to start to advance to get in the top 20. Now tomorrow, you go according to your draw, to your placing. So
Yep.
he'll go to, if he stays like this 21st, he'll go 21st tomorrow. So this is important because in the fourth and final run, it's only the top 20 sleds go, everybody else is cut.
Yeah, well, using the golf analogy again, if you have a bit of a loose first round, you better make sure that the second one is a lot neater and tidier. He's still in 21st, trying to catch Kyle Brown of the USA. The gap is going out.
That was a rough ride.
Now, this is going to be close between him and Kyle Brown. It was going to be close. It's no longer close. He
21st stays there, 53.38. And now he's 57 hundredths behind Kyle Brown.
Yeah.
Before that run, it was a lot closer than that. It was 400 separating.
Yeah, that is a
Now,
life.
Kyle Brown went down 20 sleds ago where the track was in much different condition. So when you don't finish in that top 20, you really put yourself behind the 8 ball.
Exactly right. But
when
he
you hit
also hit everything
in
there
sight.
was to
More,
hit, didn't he?
What do we say, more what?
More hits than Elvis. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
This isn't pretty. Right here. This is a little bit of, it's not the way you want to be looking at the next curve.
Kids, you know when your coach says let it fly? That's the risk. You over-relax. Jerry Rice of Great Britain now. Great opportunity for those who are coming up the next 3 or 4 sleds to move up because Marchenkov has just had such a loose run. Jerry Rice, 10th fastest starter in the field.
He's only 4 hundredths behind the Russian, 7 hundredths behind the American. Kyle Brown, so I mean, he's got a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, he really needs a great run because the track is not giving up the time it did when he went down early.
19th in his first World Championships in Koenigsegg 2017. Now he is moving up. Here we go. 20th fastest, or 20th place at the start. He's now driving himself into the top 20, and now he's slipping back out of it. He was up to 17th on the splits. Now he is not gaining ground even on Marchenkov.
No, staying in the place he's at, but again, the track pretty difficult for anybody to move up.
Kyle Brown 2 seconds behind at the line. Jerry Rice already 2.2 back. Quiet final run to the line.
Moves up 1 though.
Ahead of Marchenkov.
Yeah, he beat Marchenkov by 15 hundredths. He's still a half second back to his teammate, or to the American.
To Kyle Brown. Yeah, that's an awful lot to try and catch in one heat. Shakes his head.
Plus tomorrow, Kyle Brown will go first, and Jerry Rice will go 21st.
Go first to
That's
35th.
a big. Oh no, that'll be. No. They go in their ranking tomorrow. So he's got a chance tomorrow with a bad heat.
But he's still going to find 47 hundredths.
Well, the other
Kyle Brown has to give it to him on a platter, doesn't he?
Needs a little help.
Yeah. Well, that's disappointing for Jerry Rice. Well, next up, one of 14 World Championship debutants in the field, Canada's Mark Lynch. They had Canadian Championships and a race shootout here, and he earned himself a spot in the team at the expense of Kevin Boyer, who owns the start record for Canadian athletes on this track. Just avoids the wall. That right-hand spur is not anybody's friend. Big steer with the elbow out.
Well, 23rd sled down. He has the 23rd best start. Do the math.
Yeah.
That doesn't give you any chance, especially when he replaced one of the top starters in the world. I mean, Kevin Boyer doesn't get down the track fast, but when you have a great start, you can learn. So I'm a little, plus Boyer's 16th in World Cup points.
Yeah. I think that was the undoing of some of our World Cup sliders, is that when they came to Whistler for the selection, they hadn't been on the track, they'd been over in Europe. Well, Lynch comes across the line with a 52.23, so that's 18 hundredths better than his first heat. 52.23, 53.
100th behind the Russian.
Yeah.
Even with the mistake at the start.
So he closes up a fraction on Marchenkov. He was 16 hundredths behind him, now 100th behind him.
Yeah, he drifts. He's in that groove you talk about. There's
sends you off. Look, he's having to steer so hard.
You know, and that's like throwing a parachute out at the start. You know, it just gives you no chance to accelerate. And then the exit of one.
Yeah, really wrestling it there.
Here, not smooth.
So, Mark Lynch moves a little closer to the top 20. Brendan Doyle of Ireland, second off at the start of the competition, with some nice ice to work with. Got himself on the fringes of the top 20. Now let's see if he can find a way in. Lots of support here. He's been sliding these tracks for the last few seasons. From Dublin in the Emerald Isle.
Former policeman.
Yeah, let's see what he's got. 477 first up, 470. That's a decent improvement.
Great improvement.
Yeah.
His feet are apart
big
there.
height in two, but he controls it well. And nicely out of 3. Let's see if he can get from 4 to 5 cleanly. He does. Now it's a question of whether there is too much control in the sled.
Late there, which kind of skid he's going to have into the 9-10.
Drops into 9, still in 23rd spot, ahead of Mark Lynch, the Canadian rookie. Second World Championships for Brendan Doyle. Now, can he move up closer to the top 20? That's the helmet. Bang! Oof, hits the wall. And across the line, 20 seconds. So he moves ahead of Mark Lynch.
No, he doesn't.
22nd fastest run, so he doesn't catch Mark Lynch.
He's only 600ths behind him, though.
Yeah. Well, he closed 100th on Lynch. Yeah, oof, you're not wrong.
What's up, Kieran? Thanks for all the hard work in the off-season.
His arm will match his suit, black, green, and every color in between.
Luder's Loop, and then the late exit of Luder's Loop puts him down the left side of the wall. And now he goes into the belly of the curve, which forces him to really steer on the next curve. Here, bang. That's
horrendous.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
You've got to be made of tough stuff to do this. Jack Thomas of Great Britain started 27th in the field and ended up in 25th place. His second World Championships after making his debut in Koenigsegg. 461. That's exactly the same as his first heat. Try and tidy up the slide after the first run just got away from him. Same as with Jerry Rice, same a little bit in the second heat with Marcus Wyatt, his teammate. Wyatt tied for 14th with Heriskevich.
Watch out here.
Oh, that could have been so much more uncomfortable for Jack Thomas. Working hard with the knee steers to try and get back the control of the sled.
Boy, that was... Well, you hear the scratching.
He was
take on there, down, up, and then not too bad.
But he may lose spots overnight.
25th best at the bottom, and he's far away from...
slower than his first trip, and he needed better.
Far away from Brendan Doyle.
Yeah. Jack Thomas drops more time. This track is confounding him on a daily basis. Look at this. Yeah.
And then watch these entrance. Boy, he really has got his head down, but goes into the belly of the curve, straight up now into the lip, and then he has to steer hard and hits the lip or the exit coming out. Those take-ons and outlets you hit like that cost.
25 sleds down. Martin Stukel's our race leader overnight. Everybody now trying to move up the order, creep ever closer to the cutoff in the top 20. This is Joe Cecchini of Italy. I believe I'm contractually obliged to say hello to Fruitvale, British Columbia, where his mother lives. He's a Calgary cop. You saw Michaela Widmer, former Canadian slider, helping with the admin on the program.
The helmet.
Yeah, great looking helmet. Joe starting his own sliding club in Calgary to bring youngsters into the sport. 466 getaway.
Bad start, better than he was doing last year, because last year he was like a walking wounded.
Yeah. And the bits of him that weren't strained were the bits that were broken. 36 years old, in his 4th World Championships.
Good lines, the 9-10 combination.
Trying to creep up behind Jack Thomas, overhaul him.
Good lines there too, and good lines here in the bottom.
Maybe even get to Brendan Doyle of Ireland, who's in 24th spot. Ooh,
Much better run than he had in the first heat. But that's not going to be good.
And a big hit off 16.
See how high he was in that finish curve?
Well, he moves up ahead of Jack Thomas.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a big skid in 15. Who else did we see have that? Marchenkov, somebody else. Thomas Ducours had a huge skid in 15, trying to hold the sled
but
up.
Thomas came across the finish curve on the exit of the curve.
Yeah.
Didn't even come near the wall.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a line like that in training or anything since we've been here. Well, this is all pretty good. This is down the 11, 12, 13 combination. Here, the exit. I mean, you see that beautiful helmet.
Yeah.
Good lines.
But here, look, just trying to hold it
here
up.
Here
he
got to do a skid,
off.
That cost him.
And he's only doing 90.
Is that all?
Yeah. And then out of the final corner, kablam. You don't have many worse car crashes than that. That is a painful impact. Next up, Ronald Arderset of Switzerland's 27th after first of our 4 heats.
Another electrical engineer in the field. The other one is Florian R. No, it's Florian, Austin Florian of the US.
So like everybody else trying to move up, and the gap from him to Joe Cicchini, 1700ths of a second. You need a pretty good run to make up that difference, even on this long track.
Quiet. Ooh, that's the wrong spot. Up the limb.
Doesn't hit the wall quite as hard as Jack Thomas. Misses the wall entirely in 9. But here he's out of control, skidding and struggling to try and get the sled back online. So much speed.
Listen to the sound.
Yeah, that's the helmet just being ground along the ice.
So pretty much what he did.
Half a second slower than his first heat. Again, with 36 plus 25 sleds down, that's quite a lot, John, even by my maths. This is a track that may not be giving an awful lot of favours away.
No, the track right now is a little suspect for
weather is getting warmer. The ice will be getting a fraction softer.
Women's race is at 12:34, which is in 45 minutes. I don't think we're going to see any record times in the women's race, but for the 3rd straight discipline, we've seen a record here.
Yep.
2-man bob, women's bob, and now men's skeleton. So how low can they continue to go?
Well, we're not exactly thrilled with that. What about Alex Hansen? Norwegian slider, 7th fastest start, 28th at the bottom of the track.
He's in that left groove.
Yeah.
Quickly on the sled.
That is the safe groove. Sends you right down the middle. The right groove sends you quite a long way right.
See, he gets a good start.
Yeah.
I mean, the Viking gets a good start, but the race doesn't end at 100 meters. You have to bring it down, and he continues to learn. With that start, you got a chance, Mark.
Yeah. Now, I bet he wishes we still had start championships. Little hit from 6 to 7. It's just not a bad-looking run, though. Coached by Kristen Bromley. So he'll have a good setup on the sled.
Not too much. Ooh, didn't help.
Just as you were thinking it, he hits the wall, but he is moving up. Looking to pull ahead of Ronald Arderset. Can he close in on Jack Thomas? It's a long way in front. He closes on Thomas. He moves ahead of Arderset. No, he doesn't. No, 400s behind. It was that close at the line. So 54.12 compared to 53.89. He's lost less time on the track.
Yeah, but he gained a 10th. He gained a 10th on Arderset that time.
Yeah. So if he continues with that progression, he'll move up a bit in the 3rd heat. Bill Searle helping with the sled.
Crossover to the take-on. He hits the take-on too early. Now he's forced up way too high. 12, then the crossover to 13. And this is the result when you got out of control in the exit of the infamous 50-50 curve.
Rocking and rolling down the fastest ice on the planet. Alex Hansen of Norway. 28 sleds down in a field of 35. Next up, Australia's Nick Timmings. We've come from all four corners of the globe to Whistler, coached by Bree Schaff, who's hired by the IBSF to pass on her skeleton knowledge to the smaller nations, in terms of team size at least.
She's coaching about 8 of them.
Yeah, which is down from her normal day job where she's coaching about 20.
As the commentary for NBC, the Olympics. Last couple Olympics, it was 5th place on this track in the women's bob competition in 2010.
Second World Championships for him. He raced in Koenigsegg. Twin brother Dean did Innsbruck and Koenigsegg. They're dividing the races and the money to pay for it between themselves.
Quite a shared program.
Yeah.
They've shared a few things before in their lives.
Yeah.
Besides being identical twins.
Now he is looking like he could move up here, ahead of Alex Hansen, maybe ahead of Ronald Oderset if he gets a decent run to the line. Could pick off 2, he does pick off 2.
Moves up
there
2
you
spots,
go.
Bree.
Now Bree joining Grinchy and Viesturs, our IBSF cameraman, as part of our Grinch trio now. 53.65. It's a good run from Nick Timmings.
Crossover here on his shoulder. He hit his shoulder there.
Yeah.
I bet you he's, if they ask him about his left shoulder down there, I'm sure he's going to go put some ice on it. This was pretty good down at the bottom part of the track. Pretty wild.
Moved up a couple of spots. You got to be happy with that.
Everyone.
Next up, another of our 14 World Championship rookies, Joel Seligstein, originally from Memphis, Tennessee. And as ever, a convoluted route led him into sliding skeleton for Israel.
Israel putting a concerted effort, not only just for the men's skeleton, they have a women's skeleton athlete in the field coming up next.
Yep. Bobsleigh program being
Georgina Cohen will be sliding for Israel.
Yeah.
They plan to get into the bobsledding. They had a recruiting going on with some track and field athletes out of Israel, which you need. Bring the good athletes to the sport.
30th place out of our 35 sleds in the first heat. Now, can he close a little on Alex Hansen of Norway, who is currently 29th in the field?
Not bad lines.
Let's see what the margin is at the line. How close does he get? Very close, 200s in front of Hansen. Picks him off. That's what you want to do, move up.
200s behind Odyssey.
Took his first ever sliding trip 5 years ago this week on the Whistler track. Just so excited to be in the World Championships.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, mistakes up here. That's where the luge is on the right. That's where the luge start is. And, you know, you see him leaning here. That's a pretty good line. You know, and it's a body lean, you know, that gets you on and off the takeouts, the outlets.
So Joel moves up 1 in heat 2. Next up is Luxembourg's Jeff Bauer, 31st in our field after the first of today's 2 heats, 4 in total. 45 years old in his second World Championships, made his debut in Koenigsegg in 2017. A former triathlete and Ironman competitor. Ironman, where the running is 26.2 miles, marathon distance. He figured 30 meters would be more his style. 4:90.
Yeah, but in the triathlon, you know, you have to get on a bike and ride it if you're
36 miles or whatever, 2.5 miles of swimming, and then, yeah.
But this is a little challenge. It's only 45, 50 seconds, but it's quite a challenge coming down at 85, 90 miles an hour.
No kidding. Now, he's going to try and move up the order as well, see if he can get to Alex Hansen.
At this rate, no.
He was 1.1 seconds just about behind Hansen. He's in a battle with 3 other athletes who, how can we say this, are old enough to be the father of some of those in the field.
19-year-old in the top 5, right?
19-year-old, we got 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 54.50 for Jeff Bauer. Now that's nearly half a second quicker than his first heat. So every slide down the track, he's been getting quicker and quicker. There's some support from friends and family. Don't often see the colours of Luxembourg at sliding events. Jeff Bauer proudly representing.
Good lines there.
Finished 41st in the field in Koenigsegg 2017. And he will be around 10 spots better than that here today.
Dark visor, great day.
Go Lux. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, next up from the Netherlands, Bram Segers, 21 years old. It's about the opposite end of the age scale from the athletes around him. Let's see if the young Dutchman can make an impression here. Competed in the Youth Olympic Games in 2016 in Innsbruck. He's 4 times been to the Junior Worlds, but this is his first race at senior level. Hasn't started in the World Cup yet. He's due to do the European Championships in Koenigsegg, but they were snowed off.
One thing we know, the Dutch have very strict Olympic standards for qualifying. You got to be ranked top 10 and better on the World Cup or a top 5 or 6 finish on an event to qualify. He's got some work to do.
Yep. Needs to find a little more control in the sled as well. Broadside into corner 9, midway through the run. So he is not going to catch Jeff Bauer of Luxembourg, and he may be leaving himself vulnerable to attack. Across the line, 81.7 miles an hour compared to 90.3 of Alexander Tretikov, the fastest man. So we're saying 81.7 is slow, but
next time you go 80 miles,
like it,
next time you go 80 miles an hour in your car, think of these guys with their chins 6 inches off the ice.
Yeah, open the door and put your face down to the road. Don't do that at home, but yeah, imagine it. Needs to find more control. A skid in every turn is what's really nailing his times here. Just does not have enough control. Trying to trim the sled out for speed.
Hallo Nick, Thomas, hoi. Hallo allemaal. Rough one.
Rough one. 3 to go in the first heat. Joe Della Santina, representing New Zealand, is next up. Joe making his World Championship debut. And he was the first man down the track here. Started on a bobsled. He's been a brakeman and a driver. Decided at age 41 that ice sliding was for him. Whoa! Big height in 4.
Same thing in the first run.
Yeah.
Well, too many bobsledders got through there.
First bobsled runs were on this track. Converted to skeleton 3 or 4 years ago. Now you can hear how much the helmet is dragging on the ice from all the athletes because the G-forces here, those mistakes earlier on, have just dragged speed out of the sled. 80.1 miles an hour through the final corner. And Joe Della Santina across the line with a 58.09. That's half a second slower than his first heat. And you could see that mistake, particularly corner 4 to 5.
Hey, he'll get one more heat tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to need a bit of physio to make sure he can move for one more
he
heat
comes
tomorrow.
back, yeah.
Yeah, he'll come
Down.
back.
Watch up here near the lip. Wow, up there.
On the woodwork.
Same thing he did in the first run. He was up in uncharted territory.
Yeah. Runner marks on the plywood up there. And again, takes a hit in corner 8 down into 9.
And down here on the 50-50 curve, he's telling himself, I'm close to the bottom.
Yeah, again like Bram Segers, struggling for control at the high speeds on this track. 2 to go. This is Todd Rodriguez Falsgraf of Puerto Rico. He's our penultimate slider in the field. And Todd, arch enthusiast. Again, he came out early in the first heat. 48 years old, making his World Championship debut here. Oh, hits the short wall going down into the first corner. John started in luge, and then Gordy Shear, the ex-US luge slider, and Olympian, suggested that he would find it easy to get down on a skeleton sled.
Well, he's finding it. Watch
Yeah. Todd says, I'm not sure I agree with him still. Oh, hits the woodwork.
This is not good here. So
Yeah.
now he's going slow enough. But I don't know if he's any control at all now. I mean, he's still a long ways from the bottom.
Yeah, trying to get...
It's still going to accelerate here.
Yeah, trying to find the lines again.
I'd be surprised if we see him tomorrow. That was some Lacis. This is true.
Yeah, big hits. And this track is one of the toughest on the planet. Nobody comes here and just goes off the top without a thought. This is one that definitely gets your attention.
You don't make it up. I think they should get the medical staff to check him out.
I'm sure Dr. Byrne will be down there with the other medical crews just to make sure, you know, he's up.
There's the medical crew already.
He will be bruised and battered.
You're talking to me. Listen, he's okay after that?
Yeah.
What does he do?
Five different degrees.
If this is what, you know.
Look at this. Big height there.
Bang.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, watch this. This isn't any fun.
Wild ride, right up in the woodwork. That drives him down into the belly of the corner.
This is definitely not part of the recruiting film for the sport. Yeah. Oh, man.
That is tough work. He's still got a smile on his face. You have to be a special kind of person to be doing this skeleton sport. Our final slider then, known universally as Arturo. Ronaldo Arturo Sosa from Mexico. And a shout out to friend of the show, Akwasi Frimpong, who has supplied his race suit. And Arturo, he also took a couple of big hits in the first heat. He's another man who is long on courage.
Hey, he had to go to Altenburg to qualify to get in this event.
Yeah.
The 5-3-2, which is the 5 races on 3 tracks over 2 seasons.
Yeah. The 43-year-old commercial pilot for Aerolíneas Mexico. Last raced on this track, John, 7 years ago. So it was like he'd never been before when he started training.
Fly 737s.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how he would describe flying this.
Well, you know, in aviation, they always say a good landing is any one that you can walk away from. Ooh, whoa, whoa! And again, like in the first heat, down at the bottom, he is struggling with the speed.
You know, Martin, I played rugby well into my later part of my life. Then I stopped playing because I didn't like getting beat up.
Well, there's the friends and family. And that's a pretty wild-looking ride as well for Arturo.
Can he get up?
Yeah, he'll get up. One of the big characters here.
Suit is ripped.
It is a little bit.
Whoa, we agree.
Oh, man.
Okay. Lips.
Yeah. Just avoids the woodwork. Not quite as hard a hit, perhaps, as Todd Rodriguez Fartsgraf.
That's in the entrance to the curve, and then this is...
Yeah.
That's where no one else I've ever seen go up there.
On late means off late. Well, he and
Still
Todd
smiling?
and Joe will be
Doesn't have the
comparing
wind knocked out of
bruises.
him? Come on.
Yeah. So 35 sleds have completed 2 heats in the 2019 Men's Skeleton World Championships here at the Olympic Sliding Centre. Denied gold in 2010 by John Montgomery. Martin Stukos of Latvia believes this track owes him something big, and he is going to take it no matter what anybody else does. John Morgan, he leads by 37 hundredths of a second.
It's a lot
overnight.
of time. A lot of time. He's only won once this year in the World Cup circuit. I think he's going to extract some revenge on this track from 2010.
Yeah.
Martin, it's his race to lose right now.
And look, between Nikita Tregibov and Thomas Dukurs, silver is absolutely up for grabs. Tretikov is not out of the mix. Grotehair might be, Jung might well be, and the rest of them, it'll be a battle for supremacy. For some new names, Jung Sengui, Austin Florian, Felix Kaisinger, it's been a big day. Kim Ji-soo, Gung Weng Chang, they've had a great time. Anybody outside the top 20, starting with Jerry Rice, tomorrow the first run is their last chance to make it into the final heat. And for our sliders, the Veterans Club at the tail of the field, one more day to survive the fastest ice on the planet. They'll be back on ice at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. That is 1700 GMT. This afternoon, women's skeleton begins here at the Whistler Sliding Centre at 12:30 local, 20:30 GMT. Join us in half an hour for the Women's World Championships to get underway.